Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Bob Mendelsohn, and this is the Bob's Your Uncle podcast. Today we speak with Suzanne Scullion from the Tidewater area in the United States, herself a podcaster and a financial advisor. Maybe she can help me, maybe she can help you. Thanks for joining me for this Bob's Your Uncle podcast, Season 3, Episode 35. Of note, the opinions are strictly my own and those of my guests. Note the music, Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto in E minor. You can now find us and comment to us wherever you get your podcasts. Tell us what matters to you, what triggers your joy, what bothers you in the world. Let us know. We'll see where the Spirit leads us. You might be on the road in Kansas City or at the gym in Sydney, wherever you are. Thanks for being with us these 18 minutes.
But I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
On this date in history, the 22nd of August, in 1485, Henry Tudor, the future Henry VII, defeated the Yorkist king Richard III in the Battle of Bosworth Field, effectively ending the War of the Roses and establishing the Tudor dynasty on the English throne. Whew. That took a long time. Of course, they're not on the throne any longer, showing that nothing is permanent on this globe. And on this date, in 1865, William Shepard received the first United States patent for liquid soap, showing that dirt doesn't remain forever either. And that's the historical marker of the week.
I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
Suzanne Scullion, welcome to the podcast today. I'm curious about a recent news report from Florida and two major insurers who are denying coverage to anyone in the state of Florida due to the considerable amount of weather-related accidents. Farmers and AAA made that announcement a while back, and you live in a similar troubled area along the coast in Virginia. Do you think insurers should pull out of such coverage? Do you think you're in danger of losing your flood or accident insurance?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. This actually started not in Florida, but in California. This started with people in California losing homeowners insurance, period. Not just flood insurance, not just a little piece of it, but getting letters in the mail that said, you live too close to an area that's gone on fire too much recently, and we're not going to insure your home at all. I actually have a fellow coach, a financial coach who lives outside of San Diego, and one day she's been there for years and years. They've probably been in that house for 20 or 30 years, and she woke up to a letter from their longtime homeowners insurance company saying, we are no longer insuring you. We're no longer insuring your neighbors. We're no longer insuring anyone in these X zip codes. And so the incidents in Florida is not unheard of. And it's funny that you asked this because literally in the news locally here outside of Virginia Beach, The same insurance companies just pulled the same thing because of hurricanes.
Wow, that's
Hmm.
you're a financial guru of sorts, right? You advise people about their money, about their spending or too much spending, and that's a huge job. Can you tell me about the emotions and psychology factor that might go into people's spending habits?
Well, I've only been doing this for, 10 years, but I'm going to leave the guru title to people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. But yes, one of the things I talk about so much with people is the emotion of money and the psychology of money and what it looks like to achieve those things faster if you're emotionally connected to what you're doing with your dollars. So, like you said, people might be spending too much money. Instead of yelling at people, how about we say, when are you spending this money? I mean, literally, just take your last bank statement. And is there a time of day where you're spending money? Is there a time of day where you're going to Amazon? Is it when you're lying in bed? I don't know the statistic right now, but the majority of frivolous Amazon purchases are made while you're lying in bed or first thing in the morning. And so, what's happening? What time of day is it? What's going on in your lives? I just spoke to an older gentleman who messed up at work. He didn't get in trouble, but he screwed something up big time and he was embarrassed and the company he's worked with for years. And he went back and he looked and he said, that day that I screwed up was the day I found out my mom was going into hospice.
You you personally love a good quote that might be attributed to Zig Ziglar. Show me a man's checkbook and his calendar, and I'll show you what's important to him. Is that what you mean about emotions and psychology and spending?
Yes. If you're telling me, if so, as a financial coach, I offer a free consultation. And if that person in that consultation tells me the most important thing to me is that I help pay for my child's college, and they say that 3 or 4 times in a 40-minute span, when we do their budget and they've spent $1,400 eating out last month, what's important to you to pay for your kids' college is not true. You're not being truthful with yourself. Forget about what's
Your Facebook photo, or at least one of them there, is a picture of you on a military jet. Inside it, do you work for the government in some military capacity? Are you a spy?
I wish that'd be a really cool story to write one day. No, my husband is active duty Navy, but that picture was taken on the Midway, which is a retired aircraft carrier in San Diego. And so it serves as a museum now. And so that's where I got that picture taken. And I said, oh, I like that one.
You did spend a decade in commercial real estate management. Do you miss that arena of life?
Yeah, I think when people hear commercial real estate, they don't hear the last word, which is commercial real estate management. I never sold a $45 million building to AstraZeneca like some of the guys who I worked with did. I was on the management, the property management side. So not the sales side. I got a lot of respect for commercial or residential real estate people, the sales people. I had to take the same test to get the same license, but we were using it for two completely different things.
You like to read and you recommend certain books on your in your lectures, and when you talk to folks you include Covey, of course, and Townsend and Cloud. One of those caught my eye in your listing, and that was by Rabbi Daniel Lapin on what what was it about that book that rings your bell, and have you met the rabbi?
I have not. I grew up in New York, and the majority of my friends were Jewish. And so, even though I was raised Catholic, I would say out of our group of girlfriends, 7 out of 9 of us were Jewish. And so I attended many bat and bar mitzvahs. So I've always been exposed to, and that includes the temple service. We didn't just go to the party, we went to everything. And you were expected to cover your shoulders, even though you were a seventh grade girl who had never stepped into a synagogue. So I had a lot of exposure to that culture. And one of the things that Rabbi Lapin talks about, I've seen him speak, but I haven't met him. He speaks about an overflowing cup, and it's part of the Havdalah service. Some Jews do it, some Jews don't, and it's typically done on the Sabbath. And they literally take wine and pour it into a goblet-shaped cup and continue pouring it until it falls out of the cup because there's too much, and then falls onto a plate, kind of a plate that's like got a rounded edge to it. So we're not pouring wine all over the place, but it symbolizes blessing, so that you not only have enough blessing, we're not pouring the wine to the very lip of the cup. We're pouring it so it fills and it goes over the edge. And so that not only are you blessed beyond what you wanted, the top of your cup, now you have more to give to your family, and you have more to share with your community and with others.
And that's his thesis in his book.
Yes, that is one of the main things. He's got two very, very thick books, but the one that he explains that one in is "Thou Shall Prosper," and he explains how just the Jewish tradition, not religion, tradition itself, is to you don't make just enough, you make more so that it can be spread around to others.
Blessed to be a blessing. Fire just quick answers. Football or baseball?
Baseball.
All right, more answers. The war between the states or the Civil War?
But I'm going to go Civil War.
Summer or winter?
Winter. I hate humidity.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. We actually purposefully rescue old pit bulls. So pit bulls that get turned into the shelter over the age of 8 years old. Our most recent addition last year is Georgie. He has 8 teeth left, and he is deaf as a doornail.
Ice cream or watermelon?
Watermelon, because it's about to hit its peak of in season right now where I am, but probably ice cream otherwise.
Hey, thanks for letting me do that. Hey, how do people reach you for financial advice and such?
They can jump on my website, which is gracefinancialcoaching.com. Grace does stand for guidance, resources, accountability, communication, and evaluation. But it did start off as grace, as in God's grace, meaning, boy, am I lucky to be here. Boy, am I lucky that somebody stopped me along the way and helped me realize my issues with my finances. I know I've been forgiven of my sins, not only financially, but all of them. And so it did start off as just the word grace. And that's what I hope to extend to my clients when I first meet them, is because everybody's got a story when they first start. And you can continue hanging on to that story, or you can say, let me give myself some grace. Let's draw a line in the sand here. But from this point forward, we're going to change.
Now, you say, okay, is this for only US people? I'm in Australia.
I have worked with people in Iraq. I have worked with people in England. I've worked with people in Canada. So no, it is definitely not just for US people. Oh, I actually have a new client who's military, and they're going to be heading to Japan soon. My goal with my clients, no matter where they are, is to help them build the habits and the financial foundation they need to then seek out a financial planner or a financial advisor, as we call it in the US formally, so that they can start their retirement above and beyond their normal work or their normal employer sponsored program. Yep.
You hinted there about your religion a little bit. God's grace. Are you a religious person?
We attend church. My husband and I attend a Christian non-denominational church here in Chesapeake, Virginia, and we've led small groups before. I was almost in charge of children's ministry for a couple churches back in my previous life. But yes, I've always attended church. Like I said earlier, I grew up Catholic, but more towards Christian non-denominational services as I've gotten older.
And Grace, I heard somebody use an acronym, God's riches at Christ's expense. GRACE. I like it. Is there anything else you want to share with the Bob's Your Uncle podcast family?
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. And like you said, I can help anyone anywhere in the world. And so if you head to gracefinancialcoaching.com, please click on the button for a free consultation. If one of my favorite things to do is to make sure people get the exact help they need. So if coaching isn't where you're at right now, or if I'm not the right coach for you, I'm going to find the right person that you need at that time. Sometimes I get those consultations and I send them right to couples therapy. Because if it's a married couple and they are not on the same page, forget about financially, but if you start to see red flags, hear words. And so sometimes I'll say, listen, coaching's not right for you right now. You got to get X, Y, and Z put in place before you're going to have any positive change. But outside of that, everybody can do a lot with a little bit of coaching.
You're a podcaster, aren't you?
Yes.
And what's the name of your podcast?
It's called Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. And I like to bring people on and ask them, please tell me what the dumbest thing you've done with money is so that the people listening can get the experience of not having to do it themselves.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, thanks, Suzanne. And God bless you as summer ends one day there in the Tidewater. And as 2023, who knows what's ahead for us? It's an exciting time to be alive. God bless you, your husband, and all you do for your clients, and I think for God himself. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bob. It's been great to be with you today.
What do you think about all this? Write me on bobmendo@aol.com, or comment or even video to me on Instagram or Twitter at Bob's Your Uncle PC. I'd love to know what you think about all this. Don't forget to post a review on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you're getting your podcasts. And also, don't forget to subscribe. Every week we read from the #1 bestseller of all time, the Bible, and today's no different. From the book of Ecclesiastes we read, "He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves abundance with its income. This too is vanity." Make sure you join me next week as I interview Lance Woodruff, also a podcaster. He lives in Los Angeles. He's an audio engineer. He's a lot of fun to talk to. We'll see you then. Until then, from me, Bob Mendelsohn, when things seem bleak or uncertain, look up to God. He's in his heaven, and Bob's your uncle. Shalom from Sydney.